And of course, we couldn't get by this week's episode without talking about the HBO drop. Whether you have HBO Max or not, social media has done just a wonderful job. It's one of the many reasons why we shouldn't get rid of TikTok in this country, silly lawmakers, because that means I don't have to watch things in full. And it means I don't have to go to the movies, because 9 times out of 10, the movies will be on TikTok like the next day anyways. So that's a plus. So if you haven't seen it or heard, there's a new HBO doc, I think it's a 4-episode drop called Quiet on Set. And it's basically the hit piece, the downfall, the truth, the story behind the scenes, pull back, look through the curtain of what happened pretty much every Nickelodeon show that Dan Schneider was involved with. Now, we've kind of known about Dan for a minute now. Jeanette McCurdy put the book out a few years ago. She didn't directly name him, but it was pretty much everything that she's ever done has been with Dan Schneider. So, I mean, it's out there. But basically all of the weirdness and potentially and pretty much inappropriate stuff that has come to light was just kind of highlighted in this doc. And so they focused on 3 or 4 key things, pretty much just the main stars of his shows. One of which was Amanda Bynes. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation around the Amanda Bynes story. There's this alleged Twitter account by Ashley. There's some other name. It was allegedly Amanda Bynes' fake Twitter account that she was running back in the day that said things like, help me, this is what really happened. They got me pregnant when I was a teenager. All these accusations, but it wasn't under her real name. So some people are calling that account fake. It wasn't actually Amanda. Some people are calling it real. The internet seems split on that. So we're not sure if that information is there or not. But just the whole thing pretty much began with her, from Dan going from all that to the Amanda show with her, and just the things that we've seen, and just now her as a person. I mean, honestly, shout out to Amanda Bynes. I'm pretty sure she's on her way to get her cosmetology license. I'm pretty sure.
Hey everybody, I wanted to let my fans know that I'm taking the board exam to get my manicurist license this Tuesday. I really hope I pass the test this time.
Yeah, okay. So, so that's where she's at now. So she was touched on a lot, in the documentary, not by Dan So they covered her story a lot. Then of course we got the Drake Bell interview, the whole Brian Peck situation, which was just, something we didn't know, and now we do, and now it's all kind of making sense, and things are coming to light. And so what's crazy is, I don't know if we knew this before, but what they told us in the documentary was they petitioned the court in that case once everything that happened with Drake and Brian kind of came to light, and once the lawyers got involved and situated, they subpoenaed the court to release the letters, the character witness letters, right? So when someone's going through something like this, especially if they're the bad guy, what they'll do is they'll get all their friends, their family, anyone that still supports them and believes that either A, they're innocent, or B, they'll get through it and they're a good person and they'll change in the end. And so they write letters to the judge saying, hey, I know Brian. I've known Brian since we were kids. He's a good guy. He would never do something like this. And if he did, he's probably never going to do it again. I really love Brian. He's a member of the team. We love him. Don't give him the death penalty or anything worse than that. And just, we support Brian. and you shouldn't go hard on them in court. And so that's what these letters are all about. So we've got a list of names of people there. It was like all of Drake's friends and coworkers because they were kids and all teenagers at the time. And it was a confusing situation. And just the whole, like, Brian Peck was like the pickle guy. Like, we all remember this shit. We all grew up on these shows. We watched them constantly, back to back to back. All that. Kenan and Kel, the Amanda Show. Then after that, Fairly Odd Parents came on. Then it was the Rugrats. Then it was a new episode of Drake and Josh, sometimes 2 at a time. Like, it was Nickelodeon, late 90s, early 2000s. Dan wrote it all. And then we got our iCarlys. Then we got our Victoria. I mean, it was the time to be alive. And we all were on the Kool-Aid. We were all on the roller coaster, waiting in line to get our shot to watch the shows any chance we got, to the point where we had the DVDs. We had the little Vid Now. Remember Vid Nows? You had an Amanda Show, a 1-episode Drake and Josh, a little mini disc on a little black and white screen that was like an inch thick or wide. And then we watched them all the time, constantly. It was a direct line to what we wanted to do. And so just seeing Drake in that interview and what they went through while we were all experiencing something completely different, like joy and excitement and laughs. And as I'm sure they were as well, it wasn't always rainbows and butterflies, you know what I mean? And then then we get to like the Zoe 101 era, and like that shit popped because it was Jamie Lynn Spears. Britney was big at the time, so it was like, let's go Jamie Lynn. Like, she would, you know what I mean? It was, she's an attractive woman. They all were, and like that was part of Dan's plan. Like, we didn't have a preteen teenager Nickelodeon show with any like not really attractive. Like, that's what we were all into at that time as teenagers. And so we were watching these shows, and it's one of those things that we like didn't realize, because again, it was made for kids. It was for kids. And as kids consuming it, our parents didn't have Twitter. Our parents didn't have Facebook at the time. Our parents didn't have technology or access to the internet like we do now. So they didn't know or could pick up on, or like, wait, what did they say? Oh, it's nothing. It's Nickelodeon. Don't worry about it. Like, there wasn't that awareness of everything under a microscope and within society now. That just it's a very interesting trip through time perspective to look at. And so like when we get to shows like Zoe 101 and we find out that like it was a requirement every episode, you girl, you need to have a skirt on. Where's your skirt? Like, that's a little weird, but it happened. It got approved. We've got executives. We've got people in Nickelodeon and everywhere that pushed it on air and just did what they said to do. And so, like, even some of the disgusting scenes, like with the goo, like the goo pop scene or whatever, and just the actress who was in the scene with Jamie Lynn just explaining that to people, like, it's just the syringe and like the boy laughing, and like it was, yeah, it's funny, but like now it kind of seems fucked up, you know? And so it's not good, not looking good for Dan Schneider. Whether his supporters are there, whether he still has friends in the industry, I don't know what he's doing now today. But basically it's not a situation that anyone wants to really talk about, be a part of. I mean, of course, and so he had to rebuttal. There had to have been a rebuttal. So like literally like 48, 72 hours after like this doc comes out, shout out to HBO, I guess. Dan's on a podcast with a guy, K Boogie, I think his nickname is. And he was one of the actors, I think, on iCarly. So that's kind of meta in a sense. I don't know that it's weird, but so, and it's just him apologizing and retaliating, and we're just hitting him with the hard questions. He's like, "What's up, bro?" Like, I mean, so here we go.
Watching over the past 2 nights was very difficult. Me facing my past behaviors, some of which are embarrassing and that I regret. And I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology.
I definitely owe some people a pretty strong apology. You think? You think? So clearly he's not in jail. I don't think there's any active court cases or lawsuits happening. I'm pretty sure he probably wouldn't be on camera talking about it. So it's all of these alleged, yes, it was inappropriate, but kind of like, it's crazy. It's a situation. It's a situation for him to find himself in, and I'm not supporting him in any way. I think it's utterly disgusting, the whole situation. But this is where we're at, and this is the world we live in. This is the world we live in, and that's the world that we lived in back then. And it's an interesting excuse he has. It's an interesting excuse. And so